Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Men's Club Podcast. I'm RD.
I'm Jordan.
I'm TJ.
And I'm Pops.
I hope everybody had a wonderful week and a great weekend. I had a wonderful weekend because I spent it with all you guys.
That's true.
Every minute.
Every single minute.
Not every minute.
But,
There were bathroom
I
breaks.
was say there were definitely bathroom breaks.
not for me, no, right in the living room floor.
Yeah. By the way, my wife's sending you a rev bill.
Bringing steam cleaners and a hazmat team, dude. What's wrong with you?
Filthy. Hey, I told y'all guys to get hardwood floor. It's going to be a problem.
It is hardwood floor. You got the area rug.
Need more hardwood in the area. I hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day, and I hope everybody realizes the reason why Memorial Day is a thing. I was excited and really blessed to be able to have a barbecue and everything with you guys, but I want everybody to realize the reason why we have Memorial Day and why you guys are able to have, and well, not just you guys, everybody is able to have that barbecue is because men and women of our country paid the ultimate sacrifice and laid their lives down on the line for us to be able to enjoy that 4-day weekend. And,
3-day weekend.
3-day weekend for most of us normies.
sorry. In the Army, we had 4-day weekend. But that's what I'm going to touch on today. I want everybody to know the importance of Memorial Day. So I'm going to be touching on that mostly on my topic today. Memorial Day has actually been around since the Civil War. It started people laying flowers and everything on the Union soldiers' tombs and just giving thanks to them for all the sacrifices that they made for this great nation. It actually didn't become a federal holiday until 1971, which that's actually a while after all that.
Mm-hmm.
You think
yeah.
it would actually come a lot sooner.
Yeah, especially, I don't know all the histories on it, but wasn't Veterans Day actually instituted well before Memorial Day ever was?
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And especially, Independence Day.
Mhm.
That's been around for forever at this point. And those are kind of the three you group together, even though they're all for very different occasions in history.
Well, I mean, that's the reason why Memorial Day came around in the first place was because of the fact that let me rephrase that, it became a national holiday because they did want to have a separation
Yes.
between, to have an opportunity for us to honor and memorialize, those that have gave their life in a different time than we would say when we think of, a active member
Yeah.
that's in the military, like during the 4th of July and things like that. And then go even further with Veterans Day, it's for, most time when you think of Veterans Day, most time it's those that have already served and are still alive but have already served. But then they decided with Memorial Day they wanted something that was special just for those that that lost their lives in the defense of this country or in war and things like that.
Well, go ahead.
I was about to say, now too, with Veterans Day being as big as it is, you got to think about the fact that, even the 4th is really sort of devoted to the history and the first historic, the revolution. That's kind of what the 4th encompasses, not even necessarily thanking a veteran, but more everybody just like, hey, we did it, you know?
Well, and that's kind of the big deciding factor between these three holidays is actually who they're meant to honor. Like he said, 4th of July, it's the big one. It's Independence Day. We honor the colonists who originally fought and bought us our freedom.
Yep.
And then Veterans Day are the living veterans that have already served, done their time, and then even active duty, I would say at that point, even if they're still in, I still call them a veteran. Just because they're doing their time or they've already done some of their time. The Memorial Day is specifically for those who have already passed and passed in such a manner that was in the pursuit of freedom and liberty for us.
Well, don't we also have Armed Forces Day also?
Yes.
And that is set aside for those that are active duty, that are serving now. They consider that, for Armed Forces Day for that.
I know a lot of times like people would actually get like Veterans Day and Memorial Day kind of confused. And as a veteran, as a veteran, I really do appreciate when people come up to me, just thank me for my service. I mean, I'm not at all. I feel like I've done nothing. But when they do it on Memorial Day, I mean, it's not that I don't appreciate it, but I'm like, it's not about me. You know? It's nice. I'm very much still alive.
Mhm.
It's about the people that didn't get to come home.
Pay the ultimate sacrifice.
And
You know, and I figure a lot of veterans think the same way that you do. That you know, I guess it's more of you're taking something away from the price that they paid when you know when you get thanked for that because you haven't had to pay that price.
Well, especially the veterans that were there. You know, I mean, that was their family that they were there with, and I've seen it really upset some of those people because it's like almost they feel like you're disrespecting the memory of the person that they were with.
Right.
Not that you mean it that way, but it can feel that way to someone.
You know, and that's the thing too. We need to remember, and everybody needs to remember, including veterans. You know, because the fact is that you know they're not doing it to when someone does that.
Yeah.
I mean, they feel patriotic. They're proud of their country.
Mm-hmm.
They're proud of the men and women who fought for this country, who defend this country,
Mhm.
and they, you know, to them, they're just wanting to show some kind of appreciation. That's the reason why they'll, you know, on Memorial Day they'll come up, for instance, and thank you for it, or text you, or Facebook, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that they're trying to be disrespectful in any way. It's more along the fact is they don't know the difference.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, and that's the big thing is that personally, we went through school a lot later than you did, and I don't know what they taught while you were there. But while we were there, we didn't get to see those differences. It was all kind of a blended mess, to be honest. And I don't necessarily blame the public school system for that as much as I blame the fact that we're forgetting where we come from and where our roots actually sit.
Oh yeah, it definitely changed. You know, I come along. Well, when I came up, especially in elementary school, we still did the Pledge of Allegiance and things like that. You know, and it was actually during my generation that kind of went away. That you didn't see that taking place anymore.
Well, and I do remember very early, very, very early elementary school, we still did the Pledge of Allegiance. And we still said a prayer, but we're also in a very rural part of the country.
Mhm.
And we still got away with a lot of things that other places did not. And I was thankful for that because we got to see things in more of an old school kind of aspect, which I think really molded us differently than most of our generation.
I can remember the principal still saying saying a prayer
Yeah.
over the loudspeaker.
Well,
and
it's like
that's-
in my high school, we all, in the first day of school, every student, it didn't matter what grade you were in,
Mhm.
everybody met under Old Glory out in the parking lot. We had a big flagpole, and we all held hands, and we had a local pastor come by, and we all say a prayer. And then we were dismissed to our classes for the first day.
You know, which I'm not trying to hijack your
Yeah.
topic anyway. But you know, it's interesting that you know when all that stuff was taking place, you didn't see school shootings. You didn't.
No,
You didn't see all this stuff that was taking place. It's kind of like, you know, we remove something and we add something. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to take something away without putting something back. And in this case, you know, society has decided to take God out of it and put in, you know, shootings.
Well, not even necessarily God, but the unity. I mean, think about it. Not even from a prayer aspect, but just getting everyone together, unified. Like, you know, differences aside, we're all one people. We're all American, and when you don't have that defining the unity, you can say it's we're united. We're the United States. We're the United States. If you don't actively display that unity, then you're not going to live that unity. You know, it's really practice what you preach kind of deal.
Yep.
And that's not to say that you can't criticize your government or anything. I mean, look at the people at this table.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a difference between criticizing something and understanding that criticism is because you want to remain unified.
Mhm.
And we talked about that before, not taking criticism personally.
Right.
You know, well, this is a whole other podcast in itself. But, you know, the main point of that conversation needs to be addressed later.
Oh yeah.
We still need to talk about the importance of
Oh, yeah.
Memorial Day
Oh yeah.
Memorial Day.
and exactly what it means to us as Americans. And I know that not all viewers are Americans. I'm the one that checks the demographics. But the ones of us that are Americans, it does mean a lot.
Yeah, I have three major holidays, and one of them is Memorial Day, and the other two are very patriotic as well. They're coming up.
Yeah.
But that's one thing amazing about our nation is we're all free. I mean, we have the freedom to go out and have the barbecue
Mm-hmm.
or do whatever you want to do on Memorial Day or said patriotic holiday. And like you said, you brought up the colonists. I mean, if it wasn't for them and the sacrifices that they made, we probably wouldn't be sitting right here right now having this.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's what I really enjoy about Memorial Day. It doesn't even just go back to 1776. It goes back to 75.
Yep.
It honors everyone who, in the course of raising this great nation, sacrificed their lives for it. And that, that was so many more than just the revolutionists or the ones that passed away in Desert Storm or Vietnam or just all the wars combined, and that's what I thought so great about Memorial Day, honestly.
And if you guys know of a family in your area where they've lost a loved one, it doesn't matter if it's Memorial Day. Reach out to them. Give your condolences. Give them some flowers. Take some flowers to their loved one's grave. And if you guys haven't seen an actual military cemetery, I mean, it's something to see. It'll give you chills. I mean, it's really special. We try to go every year. Unfortunately, I missed it this year, but we usually go up and lay wreaths.
And I will say this now, just because I've seen stuff happen poorly in the past. If you are going to go to a military cemetery, or if you're going to go visit the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, or any of that for Memorial Day, it is a very solemn event. You go, you pay your respects, and you respect others who are there. And I don't want to get preachy about it, but that's something that kind of hits home for me, just for the simple fact that it is such an occasion that you shouldn't be talking loud. You shouldn't be bringing attention to yourself.
Be on your phone.
Yes, any attention you bring to yourself is attention taken away from those men and women who have given up everything for you. And I don't agree with that in any way.
Well, and that's the thing. It's the thing about respect, right? So, I mean, there's absolutely a place every day of the year, but especially even Memorial Day, there's a place to party and be rambunctious and go crazy. I mean, you're free. Like, at the end of the day, you're free. That's your choice. Go do that. At the same time, with your freedom, it is, I guess, not necessarily responsible, but just it's a good thing to have in your heart that if you're going to a place like that, if you elect to go there, that is a place of respect. That's not the time to get the beach ball out. That's later. If you don't want to have to do that, then don't go. But if you do choose to go, keep in mind where you are.
And that's the thing, saying there's a time and place for everything, because there is, you mentioned it in your Facebook post. By the way, TJ's finally got on the horse.
I was just about to mention this.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all up and running. There's I'm not gonna say there's plenty of posts on there yet, but they're coming.
There's content on there.
There's content on there. But his Facebook post, and I didn't know what he was going to post before he posted it. I don't think anyone really did. He kind of alluded to some stuff that he was going to put in there, but he mentioned the ancient Viking rites that happened during their time of festivities for their lost. And that is true. You want to celebrate their lives. You want to celebrate what they've done for you, because they didn't want you to sit down and mourn for them. They've done it so you could celebrate. They've done it so that you can continue living this life that you love so much. So there is a time and place for that. And please, go nuts. I mean...
Well, it's all about choice and respect. It's the same principle as you wouldn't go yell fire in a movie theater, right?
Yeah.
Not again, anyway.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't. That is a felony.
Yeah.
If anyone didn't know, that is a felony. It's not a prank. It's a felony.
Like I said, I just want to touch on the importance of Memorial Day and what it means. And as Jordan clearly made out just a while ago, the guidelines of being respectful if you're going to visit a sacred site. And to me, I mean, they're all sacred. From the military, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, anything, even a local cemetery with a loved one in there that's fought for our freedom. Everything. They were all sacred sites to us.
And if it's not sacred to you, that's your right. Don't go.
Yeah.
Don't be there. You know,
You have no point being there if it's not a place that's special to you, right?
I love our freedom and our ability to go out and protest.
Yes.
I love it. And I wholeheartedly agree with it, even if I don't agree with your protest.
Mhm.
But there are just certain things that are, I don't want to say not classy, but they're not respectful to the situation.
Yeah.
And if you protest at a military institution or at a military graveyard or at, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, great, wonderful, that's your prerogative. Just do not do it well, I can't say do not do it.
Yeah.
You're free to do it.
Yeah,
But
those
please-
men and women actually died for you to have that.
Yeah, I was about to say they have the right for you to do whatever you want,
But please, at least do it in a respectful manner to the
Yes.
ones who are there paying their respects to lost friends, lost loved ones, and lost family.
exactly, silent protest. You know,
And there's plenty of ways to do it.
Yeah.
And then, which brings me to my next point: freedoms and liberty. What is freedom? I mean,
Do you want my definition of it, or do you want the textbook definition of it? Because my definition of it says you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty much. If you want the textbook definition, I actually wrote it down for you guys. It's the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint.
He was trying to say hindrance.
I did, and I butchered it.
and that's the point that we're making. If you want to do that, that's your prerogative. We're just suggesting that maybe consider someone else's feelings.
No.
But if you don't want to, that's fine.
No, I mean that's the wonderful United States that we're supposed to live in. Is if you want to consider someone else's feelings, please do.
Yeah.
If
That's
you don't
your
want
God-given
to,
birthright. as
exactly.
Americans.
If you don't want to, well, I can't tell you you can't.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point of freedom. That's-
Well, and here's the thing too. You got to ask yourself this: just by reading that definition, as Americans, are we truly free?
Well, that's the
Whole
point
nother
that I have
podcast,
about
man.
it. That's the point.
Do you remember what I said last week about them feds?
Well, hold on. I can actually touch on that just really briefly and kind of sum it up neatly in that same context as using your freedoms, and you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. If you're truly free, you can do whatever you want. But if I'm truly free, I can do whatever I want. So if you go to a place that is supposed to be sacred to some people and you act out, don't expect someone to not act out in return. You can't go there and then get mad when you get the same respect paid in kind, right?
Oh yeah.
It's all about do unto others. That's the thing. Do unto others is the most free thing to say because it's saying that if you choose to treat people like trash, that's fine, but they're probably going to treat you like trash.
We'll say
And that's their right too.
But now at the same time, though, you're talking about individual freedoms.
Mhm.
Okay, just by definition, read the definition again. Try to get the words right this time.
The power. I was like, how you like sleep this me.
little backhands everywhere.
The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint.
Okay,
Technically speaking.
so technically, we're not as free as we think we are.
Technically
I
speaking.
can't go out there today run 100 mile an hour and not expect a policeman to pull me over.
Oh, no.
That's hindrance.
Yep.
That's restraint.
Yep.
I can't go out there and start a fire in my neighbor's house.
Oh yeah.
You know, because that's arson. That's all. You know, and they're going to take me to jail for that.
Yep.
So that's the point that I'm making is, you know, we talk about the freedoms that we have.
Mhm.
Now, don't get me wrong. Please don't construe this in any other way other than the fact is that I'm making the point is, you know, because number one, we are given the gift of freedom more than any other country in the world.
Mhm.
As far as our ability to be able to do the things, to say the things that we want to. I mean, you just take freedom of speech, for instance.
Oh, yeah.
Nowhere else in the world has the same freedom of speech that we do.
Mhm.
What are you going to say?
Last I heard, we were 16th in the world as far as actual freedom goes.
Who's ahead of us?
Kiwis ahead of us.
Well, hold on, because that's a point I was going to make. To be truly free by the definition, to be 100% totally, truly free by the textbook definition,
There can't be government.
there is one way to do that, and that's anarchy.
Yeah, there can't be government.
This is where my opinion on freedom and how you need to address it comes into play in that you have freedom and you have rights. Freedom is universal. Anyone can do whatever they want. Rights is your individual freedoms that can't be infringed upon. So if I use my rights and my freedom to punch RD in the face, I'm infringing on his right and freedom to not be punched in the face.
What that country singer said that your freedom ends at the end of your nose?
Exactly, and that's the point that I want to make is that when you think about rights, think about the fact that you should have the right to do whatever you want. I'm talking whatever you want, as long as it does not directly negatively impact someone else.
And
Yes.
that's where the big red line is drawn because it's always going to impact somebody else.
Yes, everything that you do is going to have an impact on someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know it.
Correct.
And that's where the laws come in to try and mitigate some of that. But by the textbook definition, Somalia is more free than we are.
Well, now, what is liberty to you? Or you, whoever wants to answer.
I gave the definition last time. Let's let somebody else try this one.
My personal definition of liberty is no one's boot on my throat. No one telling me what I can and can't do. No one, coming in, knocking my door down and saying, this is how it's going to be or you're going to die. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's I was going to say pretty close to security.
Yeah.
In itself. There with liberty there comes security that we're granted. Support is another one that liberty gives us.
Yep. That's really close to the actual literal definition of it. It's the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority, one's way of life, behavior, or political views. So, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's the security.
Well, it's security for me to say I don't like Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about somebody coming and taking me to jail.
Yeah.
That's one. A lot of people. And here's a good point to that. In fact, is a lot of people get freedom and liberty mixed up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, yes, I'm free to say it, but liberty is what protects me in the right that I can say it.
Exactly.
I can be on this podcast and say, hey, I don't like Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Chuck Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats.
And that's the point. And that's the point that we made just a minute ago. If whoever you are out there, you like both of those people, cool.
Yeah, that's you.
Wonderful.
I mean, that's wonderful.
We are not going to judge you.
Yeah. That's the thing. I said Democrats, meaning all Democrats. Well, there's Democrats I like.
Yeah.
There's Democrats that have actually done things in the past that I've looked and said, man, that's smart.
I mean,
and so
if we're just gonna be honest,
let's don't get crazy. But the thing is, though, it's like we've been saying, it's your choice, your freedom to do that, and it's my liberty to be able to say it and not have to worry about the FBI, Secret Service, whoever coming and knocking on the door and taking our deal away.
I'm glad you made that point. And I actually told you the other day there was actually a social media post, and it was kind of like a meme. It showed a German citizen and their prime minister was speaking, and I'm guessing he didn't like what that prime minister had to say, so he threw a Nazi salute. Now in Germany, that is highly, highly illegal, and that's automatic 3 years imprisonment. And somebody commented on, I wish they would do that here in the United States. No, absolutely not. I mean, I hate a Nazi just as much as the next guy, and if they didn't have rights, cool, but that's an infringement. That's their freedom of speech.
Do I agree with it?
No.
But that's the wonderful thing about having freedom. You don't have to agree with everything.
No. And that's the thing, too, to consider with freedom of speech in that context is you said the guy didn't like what the guy was saying through a Nazi salute. What if that was a testament on him? He was calling that guy a Nazi. Like, that guy is...
I mean, clearly you could see that he was doing it as a joke. But in the eyes of the law in Germany, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And that's the biggest problem when you get an infringement like that is, it kind of goes back to what we were saying the other day. Who sets these infringements?
Right.
Who's setting these laws to say that I can't throw a Nazi salute? What's it going to be next? I can't wear a Star of David?
Well, and that's the thing, and as Americans, we need to really, anytime there's a law or a bill that's brought before us to pass, I mean, it seems like here lately there's less and less that we actually get to vote on.
I was just about to say, there's nothing we get to say in.
But when we are given that opportunity, when we're given an opportunity who we put in the offices, we need to really look at it and say, okay, what is the future with this? What is the, it's like you said, some people say, well, I wish we had that kind of law here that we could stamp out all the Nazis. Well, yeah, you probably would. You probably put a big damper on Nazis. But here's the thing: what happens when the next guy comes in there and says, "I don't like Jewish people.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm totally against Israel.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take it to that point." So they come in tomorrow. The next guy, or the next year, the next guy. I don't like people with beards. We're going to get rid of all the beards. And that's what you have to look at. When you put a law in the books, when you put a bill down, there's so much you got to think about ahead of time because how is this going to be used?
Well, let's take it a step further. Anybody at the table who knows, the majority of the world all over, handedness, which one's the most?
Right-handed.
By how much?
I don't know that number.
It's a large metric, right?
It's a very large metric.
All right. Hypothetical political leader comes in. We now have the footwork paved for that kind of law where we can do that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I don't like right-handed people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, look at it this way. I don't like left-handed people. And you say, oh, well, that's crazy. Who would just not like left-handed people? We used to burn people at the stake because they were left-handed because that was considered witchcraft.
I would be dead today.
And if that'll probably never happen in America. I know we're just throwing stuff out there.
Yeah,
but if it did,
yeah.
we have failed as Americans to actually stand up.
To do what we're supposed to do.
And unpopular opinion, everybody in office, elected, you're a representative. You're not a leader.
Exactly.
Stop pretending.
Well, that's what I was going to say is theoretically, the people who decide those restrictions are us. It's the representatives that represent our opinions.
And that's the biggest problem we've run into today. And, you know, I was thinking about it earlier, but I've just decided on my next week topic, by the way. We've run into a situation where we have two parties. Those two parties dominate everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we can pick between what we call the lesser of two evils.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to have someone that perfectly aligns with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where we've gotten with our representatives, and it's become a very big problem in the United States.
Well, and that's the problem in itself, lesser of two evils. Where's the option of no evil?
Exactly.
Well, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, but I'm saying of the lesser of two evils situation where both evils keep escalating.
There's still not a no evil.
Well, there's never going to be a no evil because what's good for me is not good for everyone else.
Yeah.
No.
But, you know, good. All right. So we're trying something new with the camera, the lighting, the audio. We're doing something different.
Experiment.
Yeah, a little experiment. But what I was saying was we've gotten into this rut with this two-party system that there's never going to be a good candidate. No, well, there's never going to be a great
There's
candidate.
never going to be a universal candidate.
Yes. And that's why we've still got the Electoral College and all these other things because we've still got to have the vote for the little man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get into all that next week.
We've got 3 podcasts in this one segment that went a little off the rails, but hey, it's good. It's good. That's how this works.
Yeah.
But and that's kind of where I've gotten to this current situation that we have is are we sacrificing freedom to continue this what they're calling a duopoly?
Well, I call it having your camps, and we don't need to play by camps. All of us, all our viewers, all the people that aren't our viewers, all the people that hate us and our viewers, we are the camp. The fact that we're dividing into 2 camps is not good. Yes, there's going to be disagreement. Yes, we're going to have to compromise on things somewhere or another, but we all have to be doing that.
Well, you know, and that was always the point.
A house divided cannot stand. That was when we were built.
But, you know, that was always the idea behind the United States of America was the compromise. It was the, you know, let's make everything a little bit better for everybody, but at the same time, don't make anything so much better for one particular group.
Exactly.
You know, and that's kind of what we've gotten away from because we're always fighting within ourselves as Americans because we're, you know, you're a Democrat. You know, I don't like you for what you are. Stop.
Yeah.
Just stop.
I mean, it literally says in the Constitution, I mean, all men are created equal under God.
No.
Well, and here's the problem, too. Regardless of your opinions and what you want or don't want, who here at this table can honestly say ever, when they've had a candidate that they wanted in office, voted for, whatever, that whenever all their promises they made on their platform and they started passing things, who can here honestly say that there was not at least one thing that they passed you're like, I didn't want that? Honestly. I can't.
I mean,
Even the people you want are going to not do what you want all the time.
don't get me wrong. I love DT to death. We Trump train all the way. But there has been things that I've not totally agreed with that he's done. You know, I'm huge on gun rights. And one of the first things he does is take away the bump stocks. You know, and that a lot of people agreed with it. I get that. And I see your opinion on the matter. But at the same time, it didn't actually violate anything that was already in place.
Or regardless of if you think it did or didn't, the point is it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted the guy, but he did a thing you didn't like. Because that's what happens when you compromise.
Every gun law is an infringement. Every
I agree, absolutely, but I'm saying that if you have an elected official, at some point they're going to infringe on something. Or at least that you feel they're infringing.
Well, maybe not even that they're going to infringe on something as much as they're going to do something that you don't totally agree with. Maybe say you're a farmer that grows cotton in particular. They're going to raise the tax on cotton just for the state needs more revenue, which that was another conversation that we've had.
Yeah.
But
it hits everybody. I know it can feel whenever we get into this duality and this so-and-so did this and it's us versus them, it can feel like it's you against the world, but everyone feels it at some point.
No.
Some people more than others. I won't lie about that, but
This is most definitely a topic for our other podcast to come.
Yeah.
Which yours is going to hit on it a lot next week.
yes, I mean it will.
But with my topic being said, Memorial Day.
Sum it up. Sum it up for us.
It's for the people that are no longer here with us because they've died protecting our freedoms, which we just hit very hard on. Individual freedoms, liberties, and just pay your respects if you're nearby, or you don't have to be nearby. I mean, honor their TJ's post. I mean, you guys got to check it out on Facebook. His post was great. Honor them. Don't. I mean, it's a time for mourning, yes, but honor them. Honor the fact that we have such brave men and women willing to sign that blank check.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it goes back to what me and Dad have always said. Don't weep for us, celebrate our lives.
Yeah.
And do celebrate them.
Mm-hmm.
They have given everything so that you have the right to celebrate. So you have something very large to celebrate just in that fact. But with all that said,
we're
What you got?
just shout out if you guys ever watch this, you know who you are. There's another channel on YouTube that does something like this, and you aren't the only one that goes off on tangents. So we're right there with you guys.
I am bringing more of an educational system today. I say system. It's not really a system, but we've mentioned it several times, or at least I have. Me and Dad's touched on it quite a bit. And we talk about it a lot, the idea of a tribe. Now, we can all in this room, honestly, I believe, in my mind, say we belong to a tribe. Because we belong to a tribe with each other. And
Blood in,
What-
blood out.
exactly. What
That's
that
a gang, sorry.
what that actually means is you have developed a group of men and women. I'll touch on the women later. But
Well, hold on now, Joe Biden.
whoa. Wow. Okay.
That's a cracky dingo.
But you've developed a group of men who are within what we normally refer to as your inner circle. And that's what your tribe is. Now, this is kind of the way to build a good tribe, build a self-sufficient tribe, build a tribe that is constantly growing. And that's what you really want. You don't want a tribe that is bringing you down at any time. So the first thing that I wrote down is that you need someone who's similar-minded. Now, that does not mean like-minded by any means. You need discourse within the tribe. We all sit here and we've all got different opinions on a whole lot of things. And while we may not ever change each other's opinions, we will hear each other out. And that is a very important part of being a part of a tribe.
Well, that's the key to it, really. And the fact is that, obviously, and as this podcast go on, just for an example, me and TJ on political things, we don't see eye to eye on stuff.
A lot of stuff.
But here's the thing: it's not that I'll never try to change TJ's view on it. It's not my job to change TJ's. And just like with your group of friends, and that in itself is a bonding thing. And the fact is that I validate your opinion. I respect your opinion. And I completely understand that it is your opinion. It does not weigh on mine. It does not change mine, and I'm not trying to change yours. And we will voice both of them as boastfully as we can. And that's the big thing about what makes a bond with someone, because I've talked about it before. I'll say it a million times. You can't have a group of people together without having some sort of dysfunction.
Oh yeah.
Without having a diversity, because we're all too, although we are like-minded in so many things, we also are our own people.
Well, especially in a tribe, because a tribe is just a big family, and every family, I hate to break it to you, is dysfunctional. All of them.
Yeah, well, and here's actually, I was about to touch on that. You know, we talk about the tribe, and while yes, me and Dad are family, we talk about the importance of the tribe and not the importance of a family. Because okay, let me explain it this way. Everyone's heard the phrase, blood's thicker than water. It's really big here in the South. That's not the phrase. No, stop. That's not the phrase. The phrase is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which directly translates to the point that I'm making. Your tribe is going to be stronger than your family. And I'm not saying immediate family, I'm saying your much larger family that, you know, a lot of which you may have never met. And they're going to be more important to you in your everyday life.
Well, and in your best case scenario, and I feel, I mean, agree or disagree, but I feel like for me, because just a little bit of backstory into TJ's world, I've been big on collecting family because I'm a really big family oriented person, but there was a time period where I was kind of isolated myself for various reasons. And when I came out of that, I started collecting family, not just blood. It just never sat right with me that I can only be family with these people that I'm related to, because I didn't pick that, right? And you know, when me and Jordan first started hanging out years ago, and that's a story that'll happen one of these days, it just started growing. And I tell my girlfriend all the time, like, this whole thing, I feel like I pulled it to me. You know what I mean? Like, I sought this out because I need that family. And it just wasn't cutting it to just have this small unit of people I'm related to.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that kind of leans into the seeking out. That leans into the next little bullet point that I've made about this. Your tribe will always make each other better. It doesn't matter how you make each other better, but you will make each other better in some way. It's never going to be, it is going to be dysfunctional, quote unquote, but it's never going to hurt you. You know,
Yeah, sometimes it'll hurt you.
well,
Sometimes
it will.
Well, there's a difference between it hurting you and it hurting your feelings.
I
It's
can
more
agree
of
with
both.
But the idea behind that is that just, okay, even just like in a hobby scenario, Dad loves to woodwork. I've really gotten into it. Dad loves bushcraft. I've really gotten into it. I've gotten into all these things because of him. You know, RD here, you know, I never really jumped on it with TJ because I don't know why we never got to the point where I was just really all about it. But, you know, I was a hardcore AR-15 guy. RD steps in and all of a sudden there's a few AKs I don't think look like hot garbage.
Just because we never had one in our hands, and then RD stepped in, and me and RD had this bad habit of getting together and getting on the internet. And before you knew it, there were two
No.
sitting around.
Capitalism is an amazing thing. You can order a steak and an AK on the same day.
And bananas.
And you know, and that's the thing, you're gonna make each other grow in some form or fashion. You're gonna learn some skill because of these other men. And that, you know, that I'm gonna skip down a little bit here. You're gonna learn these other skills because this group of men, they all need to have different skills. They need to have different strengths. They need to have different weaknesses. So that as a unit, you make up something that's almost unbreakable. You know, you don't need 10 people that are all woodworkers, because then you need a metal band one day and no one can build one. You know,
Every ship's got a cook, and it's real nice when people don't go hungry.
yeah, and you know, and that actually brings me to something else that I've written down. Everyone has a job. You know, and while I'm going to relate this back a lot to the Vikings because we all really enjoy their teachings. Within a Viking tribe, you had a chieftain, you had warlords, you had warriors, berserkers, shield maidens, farmers, and craftsmen. And while they all did different things,
Well, I'll kill you.
well,
Everyone.
no, while they all did different things, it was all working toward a common goal. They all had their sights set on one thing. So with your tribe, you set your sights on one thing. You want to be a better person. You want to be, you know, if you want to be more of a loving husband, you find a good husband to attach to, and you learn why they're a good husband.
Well, growth. We've talked about that before. It's all about growth.
Every time. And that's that. You want those strengths to complement each other in such a way that you will always continue that education, even if it's just passive education.
Right. I learned some stuff yesterday that I never knew in a field that I'm pretty into.
I mean, you learned how to work a file yesterday.
Well, I learned the differences of a file and how the little secrets that no one ever tells you about a file.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, though, is, it sounds like there was some sort of ignorance in there when you say you learned how to work a file, but every tool has its own nuances.
Well, I mean, I knew how to use a file, but I really learned the nuances of the differences in files and the little secret tricks that you can do with a file that been using a file for years. Didn't know that until yesterday.
Yeah.
You say nuances? That's going to be, I'm going to learn that word.
It means they all have their own little secret tips.
Too many syllables, buddy. Too many syllables.
No, we keep you around because you're the jester.
And syllable also too many syllables. Don't fuck that up.
But and that's the thing. You all have some sort of similar interests, even if it's not a directed similar interest.
Better get that steak out somewhere. That's cheap.
Men's Club podcast this week ranks Untitled Fist Fight. But no, you have some sort of similar interests. Like I said, me and Dad enjoy bushcraft, woodworking. We all enjoy hiking, canoeing, kayaking. We've got different things that we all enjoy doing together while having certain things that we all enjoy doing separately.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Dad would live out here in the shop if Mom would let him. That's not surprising at all.
Well, if I ever had a second away from you
Yeah,
guys,
hot
I'm pretty
plate
sure I'd
in the
like to do
refrigerator.
stuff too.
Hot plate in the refrigerator. No, you got a blowtorch sitting around somewhere. You can fix that up with.
true. That's true.
Plenty of wood.
Why you say if you get away from us, you find something.
I live here, by the way.
Yeah. We've moved RD into the shop. He's not allowed to leave.
I'll let him do a lot of stuff.
Hey, you can't blame all that on us.
That's a whole nother
Whole nother
podcast.
Tune in next week.
2 weeks from now.
But
And here.
and just like every tool has its own nuances, every bond has its own nuances. And that's how you build a tribe, is you learn those nuances between the people. I don't treat RD like I treat Dad. I don't treat Dad like I treat TJ. I don't even talk to them all the same way.
I treat everybody the same, but I'm also crazy.
I wouldn't sound crazy.
If you've ever seen Vikings, the skinny one, Loki, that one's me.
Well, that kind of goes back. If you're going to relate these old world jobs to new jobs within the male community, chieftains, that's obvious.
Mhm.
That's the one that's your idea guy. He's got the idea. He knows how to set out to do it.
Most times your leaders too.
Yeah. Your warlords, they're kind of like the lieutenants. They're the ones that agree with the idea guy, with the leader.
Right hand man.
Yeah, they make a way to do it. Warriors, they follow advice, they follow orders, they get it done.
Yep.
They're expendable.
Fair enough.
No, they're not.
Shield maidens. That's a unique word. The Viking culture called women shield maidens. The reason, shield maidens and sword maidens.
Yes.
The reason being, these women were bad.
Bam!
I mean, bad. They would get bam. They were running up on a Viking woman was as bad, if not worse, than running up on a Viking man.
Wasn't it the English when they fought, when they actually landed on England, the English troops would refuse to kill them, which ultimately ended in their death.
Well, give me a T here. Lest we forget that they had an elite special forces unit called the Valkyries that was only women.
Yes. I mean, they did. And that was...
And them girls,
And these women, they were treated just like men. They were, they were given all the same priority as any male warrior. And the reason being is because they were seen equal as men. And there are a lot of women out there like that today that will become part of your tribe. And just by default, our wives have become part of our tribe because, I hate to say it like this, but it's really hard to go out and do something you enjoy and not bring them along.
Yes. By the way, we are supervised.
Normally.
If you're a sailor, you get away with it, but that's a third podcast.
We'll eventually upload a photo of them just to let you guys know we are indeed
Yes.
supervised.
We all wear the rings and whatnot, except Mr. Broken Knuckle over there, and he went ahead and got his tatted on.
Yeah, I'm branded.
But and that's kind of the point of bringing them in, though, is they've made the tribe bigger.
Mhm.
They've brought their own ideas into the tribe, and there's a lot of clash in ideas there. There is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clash in ideas there, and it's good for the tribe. It's good to hear out these other ideas. And I feel like I'm talking in circles, but it's just everything relates back to itself.
Mhm.
And you've got to actively seek these men out.
Yep.
You've got to know what you want in your life.
Well,
You
don't
gotta
seek
find-
out the instigator, because we have an instigator here, and it usually ends with at least 2 people here and the instigator spending money. You only need 1. Don't need a tribe of instigators. It's bad. Y'all gonna be poor.
That's where the chieftain comes in. That's where the balancing of books happens.
That's where I say no.
Yeah.
We're not buying that.
Well, I mean, that's the big idea. There's a balance of power, even if there was never a set constitution.
Mhm.
And that's what you need. You need those people who rein in the crazy. But you also need the people who cut it loose a little bit, or else everyone's always going to be serious, or everyone's always just going to be walking around without any aims in life.
Everyone's always gonna not have an AK.
Fair enough.
Who's that? Amy.
But and you've got to have all of the jobs filled within the community.
Yeah.
And yes, certain people can do multiple jobs.
Yeah.
But when you find someone who specializes in a job, latch on to that person.
Mhm.
Bring them in.
Mhm.
See what they're about. And then if they don't, they really don't have a cohesive bond with the tribe, separate.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. This is where that toolbox comes back when you're building this tribe that's going to help you further your life. Because ultimately that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You're either going to build a tribe that brings you down, or you're going to build a successful tribe that lifts you up.
Mhm.
And you always want to build the one that lifts you up because they're going to make you better for it, even if you don't realize it.
Well, I mean, and we do that, I'm sure y'all have guessed that we stay in some kind of project, and when we work a project, we usually work it together.
Yeah.
And if there's wood involved, we all have a hand in it, but we kind of defer to the master over here.
Not a master.
But if they're,
Just owns all the tools.
but if they're, if there's more of a technological aspect to the project, we kind of defer to Jordan. And there's just different projects that we'll all work on, but one of us will kind of spearhead the way because they just know a little more about it than the others. And that's the best part about that is then everyone else learns, and now you've got this crack team that can just go in and get it done.
Well, you further yourself by following the lead of those who know better.
It's funny because you talk to people, especially online, about all the things that you know how to do, when you're younger, or some people nowadays, you get into a sort of internet war in the comments, and like, there's no way you're this, and this. And it's like, well, actually, yeah, I am, because of the people I associate myself with.
And it goes back to that, no one's a self-made man.
Yeah, right.
And you've got to have these people in your life. It's not really as much of a want or this is a word of advice. You are going to have these people in your life. What the word of advice is choose who these people are. The last thing I wrote down here was strong men equals a strong tribe. And that doesn't mean physically strong. That means mentally strong. It means emotionally strong. That means physically strong. But it's all these things put together. It's a strength of will, strength of mental fortitude. All these different aspects that bring the tribe together. And you have to be strong to maintain that tribe.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, you gotta be strong as a man for a lot of things in life. And including, I believe, something that Pops wants to talk about.
Okay, guys, my subject or my topic for tonight's discussion is something that pretty much I'm the expert on. Out of these 4 of us.
Okay, fair.
Now, I'm just saying, out of the four of us, I'm the expert on it because I'm the only one that's actually a dad. That's what I want to talk about today or tonight about being a better dad and what it takes to be a better dad. Of course, most of you know that are watching us, Jordan is my son. He's my oldest son. I actually have a second son. I've got two boys. That's all I have. The second one is actually in the military. He's stationed in California, but we're gonna have him on here as either a
Guest speaker.
guest speaker or something later on. He's gonna come in and visit with us.
He's gonna be the sound guy.
but I want to talk about this because I think this is something that we need to discuss because we talked about the tribe, we talked about the clan, we talked about being mentally strong. We talked about fortitude of being mental.
We talked about being mental.
And I'll talk a little bit about that.
Just straight up crazy.
But in my opinion, when it comes to being a man, the greatest reward of being a man is having the opportunity to be a dad. Let me get this out here. Not to take away from any single mothers out there. You are doing a tremendous job. What you have been asked to do, if you're raising children on your own, is really unfair in itself because you've been asked to be the mother and the father, and you're doing everything you can to do that. You're the provider, you're the protector, and hats off to you. I applaud you for your ability to do that. But if you're a man and you have a child on this earth, and you have chose to neglect said child, if you've chose to not have anything to do with that child, then I'm going to question how much of a man you really are. Simply because the fact is that this is that is your responsibility. That is your gift. That is your blessing to have an opportunity to help raise this child, and you're choosing not to for whatever reason it might be. And that's a plague that we have in our society today. And the fact is that so many kids are growing up fatherless.
And and you use the word responsibility, and while it is a responsibility, that word shines such a light that is like it's something you have to do, you don't want to do, but you should honestly, in my opinion, it should be something that you wake up to do every day. Like it should be the first thing on your mind as soon as you wake up is, oh, I've got to take care of these kids. I've got to teach these kids how to be, in our case, how to be men or how to be women of society. And that's just my opinion. It may not be worth a hill of beans in this particular topic, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And here's what I want to say. I want to get into this. About the fact is, there's some preset things that if you're a true man, if you're a guy who's striving to be a man, who is striving to be the best man that he can be. We've talked about this before, and being better than you was yesterday. There's some things that you've got to understand. There's some things you need to know. Boys need to learn how to become men. Just like with us, whatever age you might be, you just don't go out and learn to be a man.
No,
it's something that you're taught. It doesn't come naturally. It must be learned. And it is always, in my opinion, when it comes to learning to be a man, is learning it through example. We can talk about so many things. We can talk about doing this. We can talk about doing that. But if you've got somebody that has that example that is showing you, and you're walking side by side with them, and then you've got a role model that you're looking up to, then it becomes so much easier to be able to do these things that you're supposed to, especially as a father. And and don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert. Nobody's an expert. I don't care what they say. Nobody's an expert at being a father. Nobody's an expert at being a parent. There's so many vulnerable or variables in that, and that's the thing that we need to know. And that all men, we need to step up. We need to take ownership of these boys and have them around us in our lives. That's the thing. Coaching all the years that I did, being a father myself, all kids are looking for is validation. I mean, that is the number one thing. What am I worth? What am I worth to you? What am I worth to this family? And by teaching them and working with them and playing with them and having them in your life, you're giving them validation. They see that they are worth something. They see that there is something about them that is special because that they want to be there. And it's important that we do those kind of things as a man and as a father. Like I said, I got some sayings, 5 things that we must do as dads. These are easy ones, really. Protect your children from danger.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 thing, we've got to protect them from danger. How do you protect them from danger?
No fork in the outlet.
No fork in the outlet. Don't turn the stove on. All these things, but let's go even further than that, because you have extremes on both sides of it.
Mm-hmm.
You have those people who just basically let their kid run nuts. We've all been to stores and grocery stores and things like that, and the kid being there and he's just grabbing stuff, pulling stuff off the shelf, and they're just basically ignoring this child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I see that as neglect.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting good time that you could be teaching this child how to act in society instead, and you choose the road of least resistance.
And then I'll catch a charge because I'm disciplining their kid for them.
Well, in that context, it's I've been talking about kids have energy, like they're full of energy. You can take that energy that's being used negatively and show them how to use it positively, and they can get so much more out of that.
That's true.
Well, I mean, well, not just that. That actually, in my opinion, goes to a statement that we made earlier. There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
That's a perfect teaching moment there's a time and place for everything. The grocery store is not the time to play. And that's part of growing up is learning when those times and places are.
Also, not only in protecting them, there's another thing that we need to do. We need to have this ability to do this, and that is to harness that raw. And these things I'm talking about boys.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got 2 boys. That's all I've ever had. That's all I've ever raised. I coached football for 17 years. I was around boys all the time, and that's my wheelhouse. That's what I know. If you bring me a girl, I usually let them do whatever they want to, because I don't know how to handle them.
I think there's 2 girls up the hill that would really disagree with that
Well,
statement.
I'm rougher on them than everybody else. That's
You can get away with it.
I've got 2 nieces up the hill from me. But anyway, we need to harness that raw energy that's inside of that child, especially that boy, and teach them to use it in a healthy manner.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to get mad, but let me show you how to handle that. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be emotionally confused on something. But it's okay to be that way. But let me show you how to handle that. Let me show you how to use that. And all that is really, and this is that scary word again, it's that young boy's masculinity growing.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. In the world, in society that we live in today, we have tried to oppress masculinity so much that it's affecting our kids. It's affecting the way, and they're growing up with all this energy, all this stuff inside of, and that's why you're seeing violence. That's why you're seeing, poor attitudes, poor work ethics, poor choices being made. Is because the fact is that they were never taught how to channel what's inside of them.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not gonna quote anything here, but I watched a short segment from PragerU, and it's actually called "The War on Boys." And that is, of course, the main idea of it is the fact that we have decided that masculinity is bad, femininity is good, and men should act like women. And that's the main key point that they're pushing out there, is that this war on boys, as they're calling it, has caused many problems that they were quote unquote trying to solve.
Right. I mean, and they do, because when you take a small child who has all this energy, never taught how to develop it, never taught how to use it, never taught how to harness it, and then you move them into teenagers, and then you move them into young adults. Well, that's where you start seeing all the things. Yeah, you start seeing all these things that are coming up, and like you said, the very thing that they're trying to eliminate, they're actually fertilizing. They're actually making it grow even more, because the fact is these guys are coming up now and they don't know how to handle rejection. They don't know how to handle when someone hurts their feelings and things like that. And it's something that if you got a dad around, you're gonna learn how to handle those things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, I mean, we talked about it a little bit before, but look at your school shooters. Male, socially awkward, unable to process feelings, emotionally, what's the word?
Emotionally repressed.
Repressed. detached.
even.
All of
And-
these things are things that could have been fixed.
Yeah, easily.
And this is going to come off as a poor statement, but this is the cold hard facts of the matter. Most of those young men and most of the young men that end up in prison never had a father, never had a positive male role model in their life.
If they had a father, they were always just there but not around.
You know, and that's where we see a lot of this.
And I'll add this, and this, y'all can Google it, y'all do what you want to. But I know for a fact that when you look at statistics, all those things that you said, and it's like you said, not bashing on nobody, but most of those men were raised predominantly by women.
Yes.
They had a mother that took care of them. God bless that mother. Or they had a grandmother that took care of them. God bless that grandmother. But they went to school where they had a majority of women teachers. They had all this female influence, which is not a bad thing, but there has to be a male influence somewhere. There has to be something there that can counter that or at least balance that.
Just speaking to my own school experience, I didn't even realize that men could be teachers until I was in middle school.
Right.
Because it seems like all elementary school teachers are women.
They're more, what's the word, like sensitive
Yes.
to children more than the male counterpart. And that's just.
Well, I mean, you look at it. Little Johnny's riding his bicycle down the road, falls over, scratches his knee. Mom runs out there, picks him up, kisses his booby, makes him feel better. Dad sits on the porch, tells him to get up, wipe it off, let's go. I mean and neither one of those approaches are wrong. There's nothing wrong with either one of those, and there's times for each and every one of them, and there's a way that it should be used. But there's got to be that balance there.
And particularly pertaining to boys, you need that in your life.
Oh yeah.
Well, talking about, just needing the male presence, I know everyone, it's forever old, but the story about the study where they had the herd of white elephants, and it was all adult females, and they had a bunch of young males, and there was no bull. And it was getting vicious, especially when they were getting into the teens of just the young males just wreaking havoc and causing all these problems. And they got one bull. I don't remember, you can Google this, correct me on any little details, but they brought in a bull. And that bull whooped the tar out of every one of them younger elephants, but they found that they started acting right. And they started acting the way elephants are supposed to act instead of this weird, abnormal behavior. Because they never had a role model.
It's true.
No. Next thing. Encourage and develop physical, emotional, and mental strength. Goes back to what we're saying. Wipe your knee off. Quit your crying. Get back on the bike. Now, to a lot of people, that statement that I just made sounds cruel. It sounds like I'm vicious or that I don't like my child when I make that statement. But really, let's look at that statement from the view of how it is intended.
Yeah.
Quit crying. In other words, the pain is still going to be there whether you cry or not. It's time to move on from that. Get back on and let's ride. Don't accept failure.
Let's stop you.
Don't let something, just because something hurts you or something you're not good at the moment, don't stop doing it because you'll get better at it. And that, that's emotional, that's mental, that's physical strength that's there.
In that statement in particular, and being raised in just that style, all that really tells me is don't cry over spilled milk.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there's nothing to do anymore.
You can't change it. You can't change what's happening.
All you can do is change what happens moving forward.
That's right.
It's in the past.
Yeah. Rafiki.
Also, next one. Enforce consequences for bad choices. Now, this is the one, that most dads are stereotypically known for.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go get your dad.
I'm gonna go get your dad. Wait till your dad gets home. All this kind of stuff. That is typically when it takes place. The dad is there to be the disciplinary. He's there, to keep order in things like this, and rightfully he should be. But at the same time, when you enforce in consequences, it doesn't necessarily have to be discipline.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just failure.
Yeah.
It's just allow failure to happen. You know, the hardest thing, one of the hardest things that as a parent that you will do for a child is to allow them to fail at something that you know they're going to fail at.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much of a conflict inside your personal self, and the fact is that you know, I know you're not going to accomplish this. I know you can't do this, but I have to let you do that because you feel like that you must do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to sit back and let, because I mean, and honestly, you want to be the fixer. You want to fix something. You want to make something better. And therefore, you know, you have to sit back and say, you know what? Yeah, it's got to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to happen. You know, so enforcing consequences. Also, we've looked at things that you have to do as a dad. Let's look at what we must do to be a better dad. First thing, eliminate them distractions. Things that steal time away from our kids should be eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
wait a minute. Don't quit your job.
I was going to say, now you can't quit your job,
You still need to take care of her.
Yeah.
but there's always that choice to work that extra,
Mm-hmm.
to do that extra overtime, to do this, do that, you know, to make extra money. And, you know, as a man, we get so wound up and so tied into being the provider for the family that we forget that there's so many other things that we need to be providing for, that we need to have provisions for, and that we think that if we have all the money that we possibly can, we give all the money we possibly can, then we're doing our job. When in reality, if that's your only facet, if that's your only contribution to this family, is the fact is that you bring money to it,
Mm-hmm.
then you failed. You failed as a husband,
Mm-hmm.
and you failed as a father. And by a process of elimination, you failed as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Because you haven't done what you're supposed to do. You've only gave one thing. You've only contributed one thing. Now the rest of the family is contributing everything else. Say, well, I'm the only one that works. Well, there's, you know, I hate to break it, and I'm gonna get on soapbox here about for a minute. Men, if your wife don't do nothing but take care of the house and the kids, she has a rougher job than you do. I'll just be honest with you. If that's all they do, you know, we sit there and say, well, all you do is sit at home all day and take care of the kids. And, yeah, I go out here and I work. They working too. And it's a lot harder because here's the thing. They're 1, 2, 3, or 4 kids. That's their 1, 2, 3, or 4 bosses. And you can't get rid of them.
There's no
I was
quitting
going to
that
say,
job.
I don't have any kids, but I have a honey-do list every day. And,
Well, I mean, that's the thing,
it
yeah.
piles.
That's what I was about to say was, you know, you just spent 40 days in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
You're still in the wilderness.
Yeah.
It kind of adjusts your thinking.
When we talk about 40 days in the wilderness, we talk about the
current quarantine that we're in.
the Rona quarantine that we've got going on.
With the layoffs and such.
So, but yeah, I was off for 40 days. RD's still off. But yeah, those 40 days I was at home, I realized real quick, and I do appreciate my wife a lot more now since I was given the duties, because fortunately for her job, she was able to continue to work, and I had to stay home. So I became a house husband.
Trophy husband.
Yeah, I ain't no trophy.
Well, I flaunted myself. I washed the dishes and the curtains at the same time.
You should have used the curtain on the dishes.
I put them in the dishwasher.
Or a tight little apron.
But you got to eliminate them distractions. Now, distractions ain't just your job. They can be your hobbies. They can be your phone. You know, a lot of us will get on the phone, computer when we get off work. We stay on it. And those are stealing times that we could be having with our kids, especially when they're younger. You know, there's a lot of studies. I want to say I heard this, you know, don't quote me on it, and don't, you know, sue me over Joe Rogan, but I believe I heard him make the comment one time talking about the fact is that, you know, it's like if you haven't developed, as a man, if you haven't developed a bond with your child by age 3, every year after that, it becomes more and more difficult for you to become, you know, to get that bond.
Yeah.
And it sets these weird mind things in the child's mind, you know, that you know, daddy's a butthead. You know, I don't want. He's mad all the time. I don't want to be around him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, if you don't do that early, then you miss those opportunities.
Big fans, by the way.
And you know, just on that point, And that's where I've been extremely blessed. And I don't think I've ever actually told you about this, or at least said it to you, even though I know that you know it. That's honestly where I believe we became, even though we are father and son, we still became friends.
Right.
And don't be friends with your young kids. It's not worth it.
No, you've always got to be father first.
Yeah. But now that I'm old enough that I can understand that all the times that he was quote unquote mean to me, I was learning something. And that's important now.
Mm-hmm.
So, just looking at it from two different perspectives here, from actually the perspective of the father and the son, they will grow to appreciate it, even though at the time they may resent you a little.
Yep.
And we've already kind of touched on this. And look for teaching moments. Always be on the lookout for a teaching moment. And here's the thing: teaching moments not always discipline. Not always you messed up. You're getting a, as we say in the South, a whooping.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going. Go out and pick what limb you want, or I'm gonna take my belt off.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always have to be discipline. Sometimes it's like I said, it's letting them fail.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's really taking time to teach them something, to really display something to them so that they can use it in future life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. As a dad, as a parent, my number one goal was to help my two boys grow up to where they could get out of my house, because I wanted my house back.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean it's because that's our purpose. We're growing them to set them free. And that is important that we do that. And the fact is that we take time, we teach them. We teach them skills that they can use. We teach them, things that can make a difference in their lives. And we do a lot of that by example. What you see me do. That old saying, do as I say, not as I do. That don't hold water.
You end up doing as I do.
That don't work. You can't do that, because the simple reason is that is a kid will figure that out faster than anybody else that you're around.
Worked for us pretty good in the Army.
Well, a kid will figure that out, because they'll look at that and they'll say, you know what?
I think he just called you stupid.
You know what?
I'm
not gonna do that, because Dad, just because you tell me to do it, I'll see you every day not do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's what you run into.
Yep.
Next one, get involved with your kids. Coach them. Coach this in his entire football career. Coach his brother's entire football career. I was there all the time, every game. People said, you do it because you love football? No, I did it because I love my kids. I knew it was an opportunity for me to be around them when nobody else could. I told people for years, I said, even when I got into high school, because I coached even in the high school ranks, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that all the way through high school with them. I said, I got to spend moments with my sons that most dads never do. I got to be down there for the victories. I got to be on the sideline. I wasn't sitting in the stands. I was actually on the sidelines with them. Not to mention all the practices, not to mention all the bus rides and all the stuff that we've done there. But I was actually on the sideline in all the victories and all the losses, all the disappointments and all the happy moments. And that, I'm truly blessed to have been able to do that, because, a lot of dads don't get that opportunity. So I was allotted that with my kids.
And it was wonderful because, talk about the teaching moments. There were so many that came from the football field.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they say football's a game of life, and I fully believe it, just because I did have my dad coaching me. If I screwed up on the football field, I just screwed up in life somehow. Mm-hmm. And there was a teaching moment there. Even if it was just a missed block, well, that's a failure. Why did you fail? Fix your failure. And it was wonderful for me growing up. It really was.
Always like hearing you guys' son and father football stories, because I was raised by my grandfather. When I messed up on pitcher's mound or in baseball period, the same thing. It was a teaching moment. I mean, I learned from it. When I got to the house, I was like, I learned from it.
Granddaddy got that welt. Next thing, and this is an important one. And and when I was writing these down, I got to think about this. And if I failed all the time. But if there's something that I probably failed the most at, or was lacking on the most, and it's this one right here. let your kids be part of your own world. As a dad, you do so many things that you can allow your kids to be a part of. And when they were younger, I didn't do that. I didn't include them in a lot of things that I was doing. For whatever reason, I didn't do that. But as they got older, we did do more stuff together as a three group, as a three unit. We've already talked about that. Played football. I got to coach them. We did Spartan races. We did, all these different things that, we rode bicycles and things like this. And at one time I know it's kind of hard to look at me now and think that I actually rode bikes, but, we did those kind of things, and hiking and kayaking, camping, and, hunting, we did a little hunting, did a little fishing, but we really enjoyed the outdoors as a whole. And, as a father, there's no better time than to show a child something than when you've got them included in what you do. Because, here's the reality of it. That's all they want to do anyway. Mm-hmm. They always want to be around, especially boys. They want to be what dad's doing. If dad's out working on the car, we talk about that, holding the flashlight. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with letting your child hold the flashlight. Other than the fact is he's going to blind you 2 or 3 times.
Maybe drop it on you.
He may drop it on your head, all that, but it's still an opportunity for you to do that, so it's important that we remember that.
Well, I actually think there's a country song about that. It says something along the lines of never learned a thing about cars, but learned a whole lot about life.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, that is, and that's true. Also, and kind of going along with that, be a clown. Don't be afraid to wrestle with them. Don't be afraid. Listen, life is serious. Life is hard. So show your kids that it's okay to be funny. Show your kids it's okay to have fun. Like I said, that youngest one, not as much as that one over there, but the younger one of the two, he's, if we meet up today, he's going to come in a couple months and visit with us. When he gets here, me and him's going to wrestle.
More than likely.
Or for you more dignified people, wrestle.
Yeah.
We call it wrestling.
Yeah.
We're going to wrestle. But that's just because that's all we've ever done. We play video games together. This whole group, we play video games together. We've got a group, when we get on, we talk to each other. And the only reason, and I've told Jordan several times, the only reason I play is because it gives me an opportunity to talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. With my youngest one being in California, a lot of times that's the only way we ever got to talk was through headset. Mm-hmm. So, it's important that we remember that. And then closing, teach your kids that they're worth something.
Yes.
But also teach them they're not entitled. Mm-hmm. We have an epidemic of entitlement in the youth of today. I'm owed this. Did you work for it? Well, no, but I'm still owed it. Teach them that work equals reward.
Well, I mean, it sounds a whole lot like teach them that they're worth something to teach them what they're worth.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's what they say. Work equals reward, and your worth is that reward. Mm-hmm. And that translates into today. And when you become an adult, if you go to your job and you halfway do it, they're not going to pay you.
Well, not even just money, right? Like, the reward could just be the accomplishment of getting the job done right.
I mean, yeah, that sense of accomplishment that you get from something done
takes you a long way.
Well, with that, I'm going to kick it over to TJ.
All right, so my segment for the evening, I'm going to try and keep things short just because we kind of run longer and longer, and by the end of it, when this is all said and done, we'll be running 3-hour episodes, but that's all good too.
I have to get my big glass.
Yeah. Let me ask you a serious question, and comment down below, just yes or no. Have you ever come up in a situation where you had it all planned out? You're going to do this, step 1, step 2, step 3, finish out, go home. And you don't even make it to step 1 and it all falls to crap. What do? You wing it. And every man needs to be able to wing it. I am amazing at winging it. In fact, That's almost all I ever do. I'm very, very bad at planning things out.
And even worse at sticking to a plan.
Yeah, even worse at sticking to a plan.
Or a schedule.
Or a schedule.
If you've ever seen, there's a popular FX TV show. There's one episode in one of the later seasons. Wild Card. That's me. I'll jump off a plan just because I want to see what happens. I mean, it's one of those things that, but in all seriousness, you need to be able to think on your feet. I think best on my feet. If I try to plan something out, for the most part, it usually doesn't end up the way I planned it to anyway. So I just kind of quit making plans, which I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying you should do that, but it happened to me. And from that teachable moment, find that happy medium. Be able to make a plan. We talked about having a schedule in a previous episode.
Routine.
But at the same time, don't get so hung up on your routine that you freeze if it doesn't go according to routine. If you wake up to make your bed and you get your covers put together, everything's nice, and then there's an earthquake and your bed's unmade, don't let that stop you from going through the rest of your day. Now, yes, obviously there's an earthquake, there's going to be damage, there's things you need to address, and that's going to cause you to require to take some time to think, but don't just get stuck thinking and depressed and, oh my God, this happened and my bed's on the floor and all the picture frames are out of the shelf.
I was going to say, that's a very methodical earthquake to unmake my bed.
only unmake the bed. No. and that's the point I'm trying to make, though, is it's the same thing. What happens whenever you have a small step plan and a big step monkey wrench comes flying?
That's what it is. It's being prepared for that monkey wrench. Because it's coming. Like I said, I think it was a couple weeks ago now, best laid plans of mice and men often go awry.
And you need to be able to adapt. And like I said, my whole thing is adapt. It's a joke, and it's a joke we make, but it's the best jokes are steeped in truth. And the joke is that I say things that surprise everyone at this table. And I mean all four of us. Because 90% of the time, when I say something, I'm hearing it for the first time too.
There's no thought process.
There was no thought. Something clicked a long time ago for one reason or another, and it's just, I don't even think. It just runs, and I deal with it as it comes. Which makes you get really good at thinking on your feet, because sometimes the things that come out don't come out so good.
Well, you got to be able to talk your way out of a situation if you're not going to think about what you're going to say.
And that's the truth.
Some of them come with playing video games when Pops is involved.
Yeah, facts. And I'm not bragging here. I'm not saying that you should ever, by any means, get into trouble. But there's a saying that a lot of people say, and I've said it more than probably anybody at this table, and it's true. I've talked myself into and out of some heat on more occasions than I should be allowed for. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that you should go out and be rambunctious and wild and do things that way. I'm saying it happened. I learned from it, and what that left me with was having that adaptability, and it's saved my life more than once. I mean, being able to just quickly flip. A prime example. This was back a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was driving home from the movies one day, and I was with somebody, and the road I'm headed along is a 2-lane road. Now, some of y'all in the bigger cities may not know what that is. Once upon a time, and still true here in the South, there are roads where the cars go this way and the cars go this way. And that's it. And on this particular road, and as was the case a lot back in the day, and still a lot here in the modern South, except for the potholes are way worse now, is those 2 lanes aren't big enough for 2 cars.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's several roads around here that are that way.
And I'm flying along down through there doing probably a little faster than I should be. But I noticed that this car is coming the other way. I'm like, oh, they're passing somebody. I'm like, no, they're not. There's not another car. They're in my lane. They are barreling down way faster than I'm moving. So they're moving fast. And they're not getting over. I don't know the situation. I don't know if they're asleep, drunk, trying to murder somebody. I don't know. The only thing I knew was in the amount of time it took me to register, there's a car in front of me in my lane. The car was within, I would say, a fender length of my car. I don't know if you know how much time you have to react at 65 miles an hour with one fender length of space to do it. It's not a lot. And instinct kicked in, and where it was, I was on this side of the road, going to have to run off the road where there was a big ditch. Well, the natural instinct would be I can't go in the other lane because there's another car over there whipping into the ditch. But being able to process that so quickly, I whipped into the wrong lane, got around the car that was about to hit me, and back into the lane before the other car coming down their correct lane hit me. So it was a situation where I was a fender length away from car A, and I was driving headlong into car B on the wrong side of the road, and had about, a car length between the two to do something. And without that thinking on my feet, I'd have been in some kind of wreck, period.
Well, and we do not recommend that. You read any driving manual ever, that's the wrong move.
That is the wrong move.
That particular situation, it probably saved him.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to recognize what kind of a situation you're in. And that's the main point of this story, is to realize what situation you're in and then make an adjustment for that situation.
We'll be able to think critically because, like I said, and he's right, it is the absolute wrong move. You should never, never do it. But sometimes when you're winging it, your situation is so bad, you have no choice but to do the wrong thing and hope it works out.
Yeah. And that's the big adjustment that you got to make. And you got to be ready for that adjustment, whether it's driving, whether it's just a general life choice that's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, that's where the plan comes in. Talk about the driver's manual. You drive for so long, going by the book, and the book is your plan. The book says, in this situation, you do this. The book says, in this situation, you do this. But sometimes there may come a situation where if you do what the book tells you to do, you're going to be worse off than if you did what you're not supposed to do. And again, that's not life advice. I'm not saying you should go out and do dangerous things. I'm saying be mindful of the fact that sometimes when you wing it, the thing that may seem the most unorthodox may be what has happened. And you have to be able to think critically and decide if that's true or not, is the point I'm making.
It's like my wife always notices when I walk into a restaurant or something. I have to face where everybody's coming in, so I'm always facing exit. Start counting. Like, well, what's all here? So it's just, I don't know. It's that mental preparedness.
What's that mental preparedness
and awareness?
But then too, talking about thinking on your feet. What do you do when there's a door on the other side?
Exactly. You gotta.
Well, and that's
adapt.
You can't just freeze.
That's where the critical thinking comes in. But the portion that you're talking about is actually information gathering, which is the first part of critical thinking. You've got to have all facts that are available to you.
Yep.
And being able to recognize those facts is a key point to winging it.
Yep. And the practice of thinking. He walks into the restaurant, he sits down, he's thinking. He's not just going in mindlessly. His brain is constantly working. What that does for him is because he's actively thinking, it's just brain's like any other muscle. You got to train it. So if you're actively thinking on things over a long-term period, it's going to be easier and easier for you to think a lot of information in the split second of a car fender, the car fender length.
No.
In the split second between, is this person that's coming up on me in the dark street lost, or are they about to shoot me? It's these little tiny assessments that you have to make that a lot of people will freeze. I mean, look at how many altercations where people just seize up and don't know what to do. It's not because they were unprepared. It's because they were prepared and it didn't go the way that their preparedness told them, and they could not wing it. They could not detach themselves from the plan enough to go, this isn't working, do something else, and to make that decision like that.
Yeah, and that's a key factor in maybe even everyday life. Because just think about the fact, okay, you go to lunch every day. Maybe not all of you, maybe some of you bring you lunch, whatever. But just take the idea that you go to lunch every day, and you go to a particular restaurant every day that you choose that morning. Well, there's all kinds of factors that may adjust your thinking between that morning and lunch. So you've got to take all those factors into account and detach from that plan and go do something else. Say the place is overrun.
Mm-hmm.
Say there's way too many people in there for you to fit in. Find another restaurant.
Yeah.
More than likely, you know where all of them are at in your hometown. So that's a quick decision at the moment.
And I was about to say, I personally know a good handful of people that have went without lunch because their plan went awry because they drove by and went, I'm never going to make it back to work if I eat there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So they just keep driving, turn around, and come back. Like, where'd you go? I thought you were going to get something to eat. It was full. Was everywhere full?
Yeah.
Was the grocery store full?
No,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's an option, most people can't even make that winging it. Not even necessarily the restaurant, but restaurants.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that this restaurant was over flooded. It was this restaurant was over flooded, and I don't want this restaurant, and this restaurant's too overpriced, so I guess there's nothing to eat. When there's a gas station with sandwiches, there's a grocery store with sandwich meat.
that's where you get into thinking outside the box.
Exactly.
You got to train your mind to do that, just like you've got to train any muscle to do any exercise.
And
You go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's a mental exercise you do every day. You find unique solutions to complex problems.
What do you do if you've got a tree that needs to come down? You don't have an axe. You don't have access to an axe. You don't have anything. You have a hammer. How are you going to make that hammer work? How are you going to get that tree down with a hammer? Is it going to be easy? No. Is it going to be fun? Definitely not. But you can figure a way out to do it.
Use a logging chain and a sturdy pickup truck.
There you go. Don't even use the hammer. And that's another point that is really good to think about. Sometimes you'll have an option presented in front of you, like the hammer, just laying there in the seat.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm going to have to take this tree down with a hammer. And a lot of people can't think outside of that what they see long enough to go, I got a logging chain in the back.
Yeah.
I'd probably just try to chew it down if I see that hammer.
Little shred beaver.
I mean, I know a lot of the points I'm making are kind of complicated and silly and to the extreme, but I think it serves a purpose in the fact that with such an extreme example that is very unlikely to ever happen.
But I guarantee you they've happened.
But I guarantee you they've happened, but are very unlikely to happen. It makes it a whole lot easier to stomach the things that will actually happen. Like, what do you do if you have a flat tire? What if you do if you lose your car keys?
Well, that's the key idea of hyperbole. You go way over the top so that when the small stuff happens, it's
Not even
whatever.
a big deal.
I mean, it's another day.
And I just be prepared, but also be prepared to not be prepared.
Wing it.
Be ready for everything, including not being ready.
I'm sensing a lot of confusion. What did he just tell me?
Rewind it. He just said to do this, now he said not to. And that's the point. That's the whole thing about winging it. There's no clear-cut answer I can give you. It's something you have to do. It's something you have to hone, and I think every man should be able to do it. And every man wings it in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
If all four of us are presented with the same situation that we have to think on our feet, we're all going to handle it different. Some of us are going to go over the top and by golly, by gosh, that tree's coming down with a hammer. But that's it. It's coming down.
I'm still chewing it.
I'm still going full beaver. Well, y'all, I'm glad we winged it all the way through another one.
Winged it straight through. Winged all of this lighting. Thank you for bearing with us with the experiment. We'll have it smoothed out. This was the first time. It'll get better, just like everything else.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's about time to end it. Don't forget we have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yep.
TJ runs all those, so
Links will be in the description.
if you're not getting enough content, don't talk to me about it. Talk to him about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be my fault. Working on it.
Go on all those sites: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like, subscribe to it. I'd be crazy if I didn't say it didn't help us. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get this message out more and more people, and you do it through all avenues of social media.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and briefly on that, just for the different niches, the way we have our social media set up as of now, Facebook is going to be more serious news posts. We will post all of our videos, updates, etc. to the Facebook. The Twitter is going to be sort of quotables, bites. I think we're going to do some bites on Twitter. And I think we'll also upload the links to the videos on Twitter as well if you're just not a Facebook person. And our Instagram is solely going to be our candids, the behind-the-scenes slice of life, just us goofing off, having fun with it. So if that's your cup of tea, you want to feel like you're a part of the process, definitely hit the Instagram because that's going to be where all the silly stuff is. And honestly, probably most of the content because a lot of stupid stuff happens when the camera isn't rolling.
We appreciate all the likes and everything we've gotten on the Facebook page so far, and We got some pretty big things coming. We can't wait to tell you guys, but pretty exciting stuff about to happen here with this Men's Club podcast, and we can't wait for you guys to be a part of it as well.
Oh, yeah. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. And for this week, down in our comments,
Actually, I've got one for this one.
Okay.
And this is more of a teaching moment for us. Do you like the long form? Do you want to see us maybe even go even longer than the 2-hour mark? Because we can.
Yeah.
We can talk all night long.
Oh, yeah.
But
Like I said, I love hearing.
Yeah. If you want us to peel it back some, let us know that too.
Yep.
You know, that's good for us to know what our audience actually wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
So let us know down there in the comments below.
And on a less serious note, just because we kind of have a fun one, what's the situation you had to wing it?
On any topic that we do, comment down there. Like, well, I like what TJ had to say. Here's my opinion on that. I like what RD and Pops had to say.
Nobody likes what I have to say.
I'm not saying
here-
anything.
I'm here solely to hurt your feelings.
That's going to wrap it up, guys, for episode 4. We really appreciate you guys. We, like I said in the first episode, without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. And quick side note, I'm going to upload a video about this. This is not a British flag. Okay, I mean, it has the Union Jack in there. These are all American flags that we have in the background. I'm going to make a video on that and go over all that, but just if you're curious, I'm like, why has it got a British flag in the background?
Yeah.
With saying that though, not trying to interrupt you, but if you know what this flag is, put it in the comments.
Yeah. We have a lot of comment content.
Yeah,
this
I mean,
week.
if you go back and look at our previous 2 episodes prior to this one, we've had a different flag every episode. So if you know what those flags are, put it in the comments.
And we will continue to have a different one every week, so just take a gander.
We're eventually going to run out of flags, but
No, we're not. I got it.
You'll start making flags.
You're gonna be like Sheldon.
there's going to be a flag of Uganda.
Guys, with that being said, I'm RD.
I'm Jordan.
It's been TJ.
And I'm Pops. Ching ching pow.